with Attorney General Tom Corbett. Now, sir, up in this area we have a lot of natural gas drilling going on. Are you in favor of any type of regulations on natural gas drilling, and if so, what type of regulations?
Well, of course, there already are regulations on natural gas drilling, and the DEP is the agency that appropriately enforces that. What I'm in favor of, and what I've called for, is to bring all the interested parties together. And as governor, I will do that, where we will bring the communities, representatives of the counties, representatives of the municipalities, the school boards, bring industry, the gas industry itself, bring the environmental interested groups, including the DEP and the governor's office, and sit down and develop a plan, a playbook, as to how we can develop this safely, environmentally sound, and economically sound, and how we can do it expeditiously. This is a great resource for the people of Pennsylvania. We do have the regulations already there. We need to enforce them fairly and evenly across the state of Pennsylvania.
And there's been some talk about severance tax on gas drilling companies. What do you think about that?
I'm not in favor of a severance tax at this point in time. This company, this industry is just getting started here in Pennsylvania, and you need to have the industry established in Pennsylvania. All you have to do is look at what happened in West Virginia when they established a very harsh severance tax. It drove the industry right out of West Virginia and into Pennsylvania. We're just getting this industry up and running here. It's providing, right now, it's already provided, according to some reports, over 50,000 jobs in Pennsylvania with the potential of hundreds of thousands of jobs. We will receive our income revenue to the state through the royalties that are being paid to the state on the state lands, through taxes on the income that people receive from royalties. So we are certainly going to receive it in that respect. But right now, as the industry is getting started, it's not a time to say, oh my, there's a new company, let's have a tax. The problem in Pennsylvania is we are taxing business right out of Pennsylvania.
Any, that is paid, from these companies, and that is, paid from...
With the revenue that the state receives?
Yes. How would you appropriate that money, or where would it be spent?
Well, first off, as the revenue is received, it goes into the general fund. We have a tremendous deficit coming in the next year because for the last 8 years, we've been overspending. This governor has increased the budget in Pennsylvania by 40%. The revenues haven't kept up with it. We've tapped into every possible fund that we have, and we're not going to be able to tap into anything next year. The stimulus money is not going to be there. The rainy day fund is not going to be there. We are going to have to bring fiscal discipline to Pennsylvania, and that's what I've been campaigning on. And we're going to have to cut our spending and reduce our spending. So where that money would go right now without having the entire budget in front of me, I can't talk about. We certainly need to have sufficient support to the DEP so that they can provide that balanced regulation that I talked about in the prior question.
And you touched on it briefly, but about the budget. The last 2 years there have been dramatic cuts. There has been cuts. There has been spending the increase in the spending has stopped, but there hasn't been significant cuts. We continue at $28 billion. Are you worried about the budget if you become governor that you'll inherit?
Well, I think anybody who's going to become governor has to worry about the budget, and the legislature and myself are going to have to work on reducing the size of state government, reducing the size of the budget of Pennsylvania when the revenues aren't there. We can't continue to mortgage the future of our children for today.
And there's been a lot of talk about the state's bridges, roads, and just other infrastructure. What is your feeling on that, and would you like to see that maybe get more funding, or how would you address?
Well, first off, I'd ask your readers and your listeners to go take a look at our transportation plan on our website at tomcorbettforgovernor.com. In there, we talk about having to take a look at alternatives like private-public partnerships. We said in the first 6 months we're going to establish a transportation fund working group to come up with solutions, because we do need to come up with solutions. I'm somewhat surprised that the governor in this year, in his last year as governor, goes around the state saying that we need to have a tax increase in the gas tax, which would, right now, we're the second highest state when it comes to gasoline tax at the pump. And I wonder where he's been for the last 7.5 years, getting the money into the transportation fund that's needed.
And the governor recently, and I don't remember exactly when, but he recently came up here to Northeastern Pennsylvania and was talking about the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton Yankees and maybe helping provide $20 million in state funds to help them build a new stadium. What is your feelings on tax dollars or state money being used to build stadiums?
Well, as I said before, right now we are going to have to get our spending under control and bring the fiscal discipline to Pennsylvania that we haven't had for the last 7.5 years. I'm not aware of the need for a new stadium at this point in time and exactly how it would be funded, especially when you're talking about additional stadiums. So I don't have a direct answer for you on that because I'd have to see what the proposals would be.
The taxes put in place on the drilling companies before, the election, and then if you were to become governor, would you rescind the tax?
Well, if the tax is put in place before I become governor, I can't rescind the tax. I can't veto it after the governor signs the tax bill. The only way to do that is if the legislature would vote to rescind the tax. So, no governor could impose his will at that point in time because it would be law.
But you were in favor of not raising taxes, it sounds like?
I signed a no new tax pledge. We have the 11th worst environment for taxes in the country. We have the second highest corporate net income tax. We have a cap on the net operating loss carry forward. We're one of only 2 states that has that. We still impose a inheritance tax, or death tax as it's called, that's killing the ability of small businesses to pass along their business from one generation to the next, including our farmers. We tax the people of Pennsylvania more than enough right now. Actually, we've been overtaxing. We need to cut the taxes. The only time I've seen an economy grow is when you cut the taxes, not when you increase the taxes.
Morning.